What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Recovery Rebellion. My name is Tara Grace. I go by Burn the Stigma on social media. And today I have a special guest. I have Emma with us, and she is the host of the Group Think podcast. I was actually on her podcast, I think it was maybe a couple months ago or so. I guess we're just going to jump right into it because I really know nothing about your story at all, Emma. So why don't you give us a little bit of a background of like what brought you to the rooms in the first place?
Everyone. So, like Tara said, my name is Emma. I live in Helsinki, Finland, and I host the podcast Group Thinking on Spotify. And I'm 33 years old. I joined AA when I was 19. I was very young. I had been drinking like 6 years, and I did some drugs. And well, now that I think about it, I was basically just partying, and then a family member of mine suggested AA to me, and I joined AA, and I stayed there for 13 years until I left for multiple reasons that we can discuss today.
So, what was your first impression when you first went and heard what they were talking about? Were you like, "Oh, like this makes sense?" Or were you like, "Holy shit, these people are crazy"? For me, when I first started hearing them, I'm like, "Okay, this makes so much sense. I'm so fucked up and have all these issues because I suffer from this spiritual malady and like, that's what my problem is." But I know other people are like when they first heard the message, they were like, "Oh my god, this shit is crazy." Like what was your when you first heard it, did you think were you excited about it or were you like, "Oh shit"?
Me, honestly, I was too focused on me being so young because I was 19 and everybody made this huge thing about me being so young, and it was a big deal for me. So that was what I was focused on mostly. But then as the years went by, at first I was excited, like, oh, all of my problems are because of my fucking alcoholism that doesn't even exist. But then when the years passed by, I kind of realized that, well, it really doesn't exist, and there is no such thing as spiritual disease, honestly.
For some people they just like say stop going. For some people they keep going and like in their head they're like, man, like this really isn't for me, but I think, if I don't go to these meetings then I'm gonna die. Or people think like, oh, my disease is the one who's telling me that I should stop going to these meetings. Was there a progression to you not going? Was it like something that happened over time? Like how did you just stop going?
Yeah, it's a good question because honestly, I never ever thought I would leave AA, even though I questioned it pretty harshly, like at least for 5 years before I left. I never thought about leaving because I was so brainwashed into thinking that I'm gonna die if I leave. Um, but the last year before I left, I was like, honestly, I'm not getting anything out of this. And I started deprogramming before I left, and that really helped me because I would never recommend anyone to just cut cold turkey, because if you're still indoctrinated and then you leave, then you can very well do the self-fulfilling prophecy and die. So, I mean, always
Yeah.
take care of yourself first.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think for so many people, it's like, I know for myself, what kept me in there, well, there was really two things. It was that my family believed that I was okay if I was going to those meetings. Like, if I was going to those meetings, then I must be working on my recovery and doing my recovery. And then the first thing that like the treatment centers told my parents, signs to look out for. If they stop going to meetings, that's a big red flag. So you got to look out for that. So that was one thing that kept me in. But then the other thing is, it's like, well, what if I'm gonna die? So I think it's really good that you started the whole deprogramming before you were like, F this. And when you say you started deprogramming, was there like, did you see something online? Did you even know to do that? Like, what even?
Yeah, well, social media really helped me, and
Okay.
YouTube, and I didn't even know about the Facebook groups. I didn't know about you. I was just looking at random YouTube videos, people ranting about AA, but then the more more you know, the more you know. And then I accidentally found these Facebook groups, and that was kind of the last thing that broke the camel's straw, and or how the hell do you say it in English? But anyway, I was like, okay, well, this is it. There are like thousands of people who have left AA, and they're doing okay. So it was piece by piece, yeah.
So was like, were there friends? Was anyone in your family concerned? Were there people around you who didn't go to AA who were concerned about you stopping meetings? And then were there like any uncomfortable conversations that you had to have with people in the rooms, or did you just kind of fall back and then everyone kind of just figured you must have been out drinking because that's usually what they assume when you stop showing up, right?
Yeah, it was intense, especially with the family member of mine who's still in AA. At first, he was so scared we couldn't even talk about it, mostly because I didn't want to talk about it. But this summer, I actually ran into him and we talked about it a lot. And he was like, I'm not worried about you at all. When I go to meetings, I tell everyone that Emma's doing great and she left AA. So, you know,
That's
like
very
he's,
good.
yeah, it's really good. And it's good for me to be able to be okay with the fact that he's still going to AA, and it gives him something, but it doesn't give me anything. And so we have a good relationship now, and I think that's the most important thing. And I still talk to like 3 or 4 other people who are in AA, but the rest of them, it was my decision to block them because I couldn't handle the pressure. Maybe now I could be their social media friends or whatever, but at that time it was very important to me to just, not talk to people who were still in the rooms.
No, totally. I mean, it's for me, like on my personal Facebook page, like there's still like a couple people that like I'm mutuals with, but I don't interact with anyone from my past that's still active in the rooms. I feel like there's only a couple people left, and for the most part, either everyone's dead or they've left and gone on to just live a quote unquote normal life, like whatever that is, right? So your podcast, how did that come about? Was it something that you thought about for a while? Did you just like one day just say like, you know what, F it, I'm gonna do a podcast?
Yeah, well, actually, I was talking with my mom like a year ago or something, and she was like, maybe you should write about this or do something. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should. And then I met these 2 girls who are in the Facebook groups, and we were discussing about having a podcast, but then I'm much more of an solo person, so we didn't do it back then. And then last December, I was like, why the hell not? And I just did it, and yeah, it's been great. It's very therapeutic, even though I have like less than 100, followers, but that's not my point. The point is that the people who need it will hear it, and it's been really good for me and to other people too.
There's something about, I mean, I guess there's a couple of people who have gotten lucky, but I feel like for those of us who speak out about the program, none of us have like really big followings, right? Like especially compared to so many like recovery influencers who have just like thousands upon thousands. Some have millions upon millions. And it's funny because people always be like, oh, like you're just talking about this for attention. It's like, dude, I've been talking about this for like 5 years, and like look at my stats. Like if I was doing this for attention, or I would talk about anything but this doesn't get the views, this doesn't get but like you said, it's the people who need it who are going to get it, because this can be such a traumatic thing for so many people. Like I don't like, it's one of those things, like there's an uncommon bond between those of us who have been there. And even though, and I mean, you know this better than me because you've talked to more people about their leaving story, is that even though there's so many similarities, like there's still so many differences in so many of us, like everyone has a little bit of a different story. And it's so powerful to see so many different people overcoming we've been conditioned to believe that stuff since we were kids, seeing it on a movie, on TV. Like it's so normalized. Like what would you say, is there like maybe one or two, I'm sure there's probably several, but is there like one or two common things that you see from like all of your guests, or like is there like just crazy differences, like, but is there one or two like things that you see that are that are pretty common between everyone that you talk to with their leaving story?
Yes, absolutely. Almost everyone loved AA at first, and they
Mm.
stayed in AA for a very, very long time, just like me. And I think the most common thing is that people started to find it very cliquey and very culty, and people usually talk about the controlling sponsors. Not so much the drinking. Honestly, most of them still are sober. I'm not. I'm a rebel, but it's not about, we wanted to leave because we wanted to get fucking wasted. No, it's about not believing the fucking Kool-Aid anymore.
It's like it's so funny because so many people like on social media who are still in the program who will like comment things, they think that like we've hated it. You know what I mean? They think like we went to one or two meetings and we're like, "Oh, fuck AA." Like they don't understand that we used to like live, eat, breathe this stuff, like literally carry the message to other people and try to get them involved. This wasn't like we went to a couple of meetings and we're like, "Oh no, this sucks." And now we dedicate part of our life to speaking out about it. Because like if that was true, yeah, that would be a little kind of crazy, right? But it's like so many of us do this in the capacity that we do it when none of us are making money. I'd say it's costing us money, right? Between like the software and like just like the things that you do in the community, like it's costing us money. We're not making money off of this. It's taking part of our time that we could be doing other things, right? We're good. We're not doing this for ourselves. We've gone on and lived our life, but we know what it's like to literally be in a system that you think your life depends on this shit and it's not working for you in the capacity that like everyone talks about it, that seems like they're all working. And it's like sometimes I'm like, is everyone faking it? Is everyone just talking this talk because we think that like everyone else, because like it is like that whole faking until you make it. So have you, because on the podcast space I feel like it's a like hate doesn't come as often, like just on specifically the podcast. Have you had to deal with any hate yet, or is it not too bad yet?
It's not bad at all because I tried to protect myself and I didn't start a social media account for my podcast and I don't have my comment section open, which is kind of a shame because then I could have more conversations, but I really don't want to talk to the steppers who are treating the big book like the fucking Bible. So I'm like, we don't need to have this session. Create good conversations. It's because I know the way they attack on people who talk kind of against AA, and I don't have time for that. I mean, I have to do laundry. Like
I will say that it is the negativity, the negative comments, they can almost be like distracting sometimes. Like instead of talking about things that I want to talk about, I'll engage with these people on TikTok especially. And then I get so far away from what I actually want to talk about because of these people that are just taking. Sometimes I feel like I shouldn't engage. But then other times it's like, no, like they don't get to come over here and like say all of this bullshit that isn't even true and just get away with it. And it's not like I'm like punishing them or anything. It's not like they really care. But like I tell people all the time, because people are like, you're wasting your time even responding to them. And I said, listen, at this point, I know that. But I do it for the people reading the comments, right? Because there are people who are in this content who are still in the meetings, who are trying to decide if they're gonna leave, if they, there are people who just left and think that they might be dying. They're tiptoeing around life because they really think that their disease has been doing push-ups in the parking lot, waiting for this moment, waiting for them to leave. And it's like people don't understand how fragile that can be. Did you ever feel like when, I know you said you started deprogramming before you left, was there like a last meeting that just ended up being your last meeting, or did you make a conscious decision like, all right, tonight, like this is it, like I'm not going to any more meetings, or did it just happened, you just stopped going?
Yeah, it just happened. It was like December 2023, and that was my last meeting, and I never went back. So I didn't plan it, but I mean, I did have a break before that. Like for 3 months, I didn't go to meetings, but I never ever thought of really leaving. But then I kind of I don't know. I just never went back. It's so funny. But yeah, that's what happened to me. Maybe that's the best way for me, it was because it was so natural. It wasn't like a big dramatic gesture, like, fuck you, everyone. It was like, not working for me anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there, when you first left, was there any sort of shaky ground? Like at some point, did you miss? Was there ever a time like you missed the meetings? Did you ever think like, maybe I should go back? Like, has there ever been a time where you, well, A, that you missed it, or B, that was there a time in the beginning where you were nervous about, going back to chaotic use, or where you said, looking back at it now, it was more partying versus super chaotic use, but were you ever nervous about it?
I was, and this is what I want to say to everyone who's thinking about leaving, like, please be prepared to face all kinds of feelings. And it was, you know, January here, it's very cold and dark, and I was also working remotely, and suddenly I had so much free time, and I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And oh, I have this feeling, now I have to face it and not just go to an AA meeting and, talk about bullshit and feel better for a while. And also the drinking, because I started drinking again, and the first sip, I was like, oh shit, does this mean I'm gonna die? And even now, it's been 1.5 years and I've been drinking, and I'm honestly very happy with my decision. But even now, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, is this alcoholism? But I don't know. It's probably not, because I feel great. So I do like to drink. I admit that, but it's not like it was when I was 19. I don't get shit-faced. I don't pass out. I don't have any problem drinking non-alcoholic beer like I just did today. So I feel like my brain has developed, it's different.
No, totally. Like I love cannabis. Like I love smoking weed. Like I love the way that it makes me feel, and I want to talk about it more, but I still feel awkward about it. And what's so crazy is like when I first like started making content on the internet, I started from a cannabis account. My Burn the Stigma was about, yeah, burning the stigma, but smoking and burning the stigma about that and using cannabis in recovery. I still had a very different way. I still very much believed in the disease model, even though I was using cannabis. But I was very, cannabis in recovery. It's a tool for my recovery. And I really tried to, I think I really tried to justify it in the beginning, like a lot, because I was scared to say in the big book, right? It says alcoholics drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol. It's like I essentially like the effect produced by cannabis, but it's not chaotic. It doesn't ruin my life. Like I'm not selling shit to buy weed. It's like weird having a good relationship with a substance because you feel like you can't because of your past, like you feel like it feels like it's, and then it just feels so taboo to talk about it because then it's like, you get in your head like, oh, you don't want to make someone else think that they can do it. But even though we're not responsible for what anybody else decides to do for themselves, right? But it's like you just carry, it's weird. Like the relationship that I have around cannabis, like I love it. Like you said, like you like to drink, but doesn't it feel weird sometimes?
It feels very weird. And I have this friend who lives in the US also, and she's also left AA. And we've been talking about this via voice messages, like, why do I feel guilty when I have one fucking glass of wine? And that's the deep programming I still have to do. And I probably have to do it for the rest of my life, honestly, because I was in AA for 13 years, listening day after day, like, you can't have one. And now it's like, when I go to the liquor store, I almost feel like I'm doing something criminal sometimes. Like, it's crazy. I just have to tell myself that I'm making conscious decisions, and if I don't want to go to the liquor store, then I don't do it. But like, it's not like a disease that makes me walk to the liquor store. So that's what I have to keep in mind.
I love that you say that because that's one thing that I've been talking about, but trying to figure out how to frame it, because it's like, I remember there was a story that I used to tell in my AA story, right? And it would be about this time that I was driving to meet the dope dealer and I was crying because I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And that was my disease, right? That was my disease making me do something I didn't want to do. And then I talked about how I, loaded up the syringe and like how I was crying doing it. But I still did it. That was still the choice. Even though it felt like I didn't have a choice, like that was me making the best decision that I could in the circumstances that I was in. Like I was dope sick, you know, like my life was complete shit. And that was the decision that I made because that was going to give me the relief. But when it's so different, like trying to frame, like I really haven't done it yet and I want to do it, but like reframe my story without the disease model, because I've never told my story, like my whole story, like without that disease model spin. You know what I'm saying? And it's so weird to look at different things, and I want to tell people, you know, like people have choices, but then you don't want the messaging to come across that like, well, you know, it's all a choice and people just, you know, continue to fuck up their lives and they could stop anytime they want. It's like it's so complicated to, like, it's just so weird, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very weird. And yeah, same for me actually. I've never talked about my story without the alcoholism spin-off, but now that I think about it, I should. Maybe I should do an episode in my podcast or something. Because the truth is, I had a pretty traumatic childhood. Then I drank for 6 years, and so did my friends. And I've unpacked so much trauma. I've learned new habits. And do I regret getting sober? Absolutely not. But I don't believe I have to stay sober forever. So that's why I can't go to AA anymore, because it's total opposite of what I believe is good for myself.
Totally. That is one thing that I really want to do too, is like tell it through, but I don't even know if like I know how. You know what I'm saying? Like how could I don't think I'm even at the point right now where I could tell a stigma-free story, because I don't know it. I don't know my story without that on it. So I would love to do it at some point, but I don't even know if I could. And it's just so crazy because it's like I feel like me as a person, and I don't even want to say this out loud because I feel like people are gonna be like, oh wow, she's in such denial, she's really sick. But like I am a better person not abstinent. I am a better person when I'm able to smoke cannabis, when I can have that release. And people be like, oh well, you shouldn't need a substance to have a release. It's like substances is a very normal human thing to do. Like it dates back to like 4,000, like I think the first written record we have of people using substances like 4,000 BC or something crazy, right? Like it's always been a part of what humans do, whether it's just spiritual ceremony, whatever. And what made it so bad is, you know, all the criminalization and all of that shit is what's taken us for this whirlwind. But it's so different to talk to people who have a very criminalized view of using substances. What is it like where you live? It is like harm reduction a thing? Is things very criminalized? What is it like there? And what is the drinking age there too?
So the drinking age is 18 and everything's illegal except for alcohol. I think we have very black and white thinking here. It's like either you hear these fucking amazing sobriety success stories in the media, or you know, something else, or you're a bad drunk and you'll die. And there was a good article recently. A psychologist said that you actually should drink with your coworkers because it helps you socialize. And I was like, yes, this is what we need. Like, how do normal, so-called normal people use alcohol? Because it's so demonized here. We have lots of drinking problems, but I feel like the vast majority, like I do babysitting, and they always have like these huge stacks of wine, and never have I ever thought they have a problem. I'm like, yes, this is normal, and we should talk about these people more, you know?
Is the bar scene like in here in the States? Like the bar scene is super glamorized, alcohol is super glamorized. Is it like that there or no?
I think that drugs have become the new thing, especially with the young people. So maybe alcohol isn't so glamorized anymore. But it's funny for me because when I got sober, everybody was drinking and going to clubs, and now I'm the one who wants to hit the clubs and the bars, and most of my friends are kind of sober curious. So it's so funny how life works sometimes.
It really is. Like it's just I never thought that I would be someone, especially when I was so pro 12-step, pro AA. If I ever saw my content when I was in there, if I saw someone saying what I say, I would be like, oh my God, she is so dangerous. We need to get her the hell off the internet. Like, I would be like writing letters to TikTok and YouTube, I swear, to try to get that type of content removed because I would literally think it is so deadly, which is why sometimes I can sympathize with the hate because their beliefs, what they believe, we are dangerous. We are dangerous to their belief system, right? And if they're told that to use is to die, well, anyone saying that, like, hey, like, yes, I did have a chaotic relationship with substances for a while, but now I don't, and I'm actually a better person with a little bit of substance in my life versus trying to, raw dog it completely abstinent. It's not for me. I understand plenty of people can live abstinent and live happy lives abstinent, but plenty of people don't, and plenty of people do use substances, and it's a normal thing to want. For me, it's just like a little bit of a sigh of a relief, like a little just like, ooh, just like taking your bra off type of thing. It's just a little bit of a release, and it's crazy how much the stigma of the substances has just what it's done. Do you guys have any harm reduction efforts there? Like, do you guys have safe syringe programs or overdose prevention sites or anything like that?
Yeah, we have some, like we have this A clinic, and then we've been talking about like starting these using rooms, like so the people who use don't have to use the public toilets, but the government didn't want to do that. So there's been some, but mostly people still rely on the 12 steps, I feel. Like that's the most common. Like we don't even have smart recovery here. So yeah, it really annoys me because I wish there were options and I wish I could provide the option, but I'm just a girl with a podcast. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to pretend to be a doctor. So I think someone in the professional field should really start tackling this issue.
It's funny too because I had thought about like doing like an in-person cannabis meeting or doing like an all pathways meeting, but honestly, I don't want to. I just don't. The meeting vibe, even though it wouldn't be 12 step, just the whole idea of it just doesn't make me feel good. Like the idea of it sounds exhausting, and as much as I would love to provide that for someone else, be that space for someone else, I think it would be something that I would start and I would stop going after a while because it would just be too much. Like I really feel like 12 step ruined, honestly, it ruined friendships for me too because I hate communicating like that, always having to answer for someone, always having to be there when was constant communicating with women in the program. And it's like now I don't want to be like, I have one friend that, I talk to on the regular, the guilt of feeling I don't want to answer that person right now. And what if they're going to pick up and use, like all of those things that like I just don't. I know I feel like it sounds selfish that I don't want to be there for people like that. Like I'm not someone, like you'll see sometimes people will, make content and then they'll say, my inbox is always open. I never say that because it's not that I don't want to be there for people, but because of like my training, my indoctrination in 12 step, I feel like I have to totally be there and almost be a doormat. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I feel like it ruined female relationships for me in a way. Do you feel any of that at all?
I do because I think that's the reason why the deprogramming AA Facebook things have never really became like huge online meeting, not that I'm aware of. And I think it's because people are traumatized. They don't want to tell people what to do anymore. They don't want to go to fucking group therapy. We're done with that shit. And even to this day, like when I talk to my friends and I like bitch about my problems or whatever, I'm kind of like, do I even want to talk about this? Because I've been talking about my problems for so many years, only to realize I didn't really have any major problems, So yeah, so I know what you mean, but also it's been very healing for me to find new communities and new people and, people who are not based on the fact that we have a mutual problem. More like, oh, you like to, I don't know, go to this party or you have this hobby or this job. And it's much more, healthier ground for friendship, I feel.
Yeah, I think it's definitely opens up a place to be more genuine, because when you're in the rooms, or at least when I was in the rooms, it felt like it was almost like I was being who I thought they wanted me to be, like who I'm supposed to be by this, so like, oh yeah, I did my prayers this morning, my prayer and meditation this morning, I did my step work, and trying to be this fellow 12 stepper that let's go help some other people and let's go do this and and like inside I didn't feel like that, but again it was that like, let me fake it till I make it, let me fake it, they say fake it till you make it, so I'm just gonna keep faking, and eventually I don't want to quit before the miracle happens, like they say, so I just kept trying to hang in there, and it never worked out for me. So what do you think is like the most misunderstood thing about those of us who do leave the program? Is there one common misunderstanding or assumption that you think people make about those of us who leave the rooms?
Yeah, I think when you go to an AA meeting, they always tell you that, oh, the ones who leave, they die, or someone comes back after a bad relapse. So they think we're doing not good at all. And that's why it gives me so much satisfaction that the person who I know is talking good things about me to the steppers. I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, fuck you. Like, no offense, I know some people relapse and they die and it's horrible, but I also know that people are thriving. And the other thing, the misunderstanding is about us who speak publicly about this, because like you said in the beginning, my message is not to bash AA and make AA people feel bad. My message is for people just like me who wants to hear this kind of content. So I wish people in AA wouldn't take it so personally, because it's not personal attack on them.
No, totally. And that is one thing that if someone is in AA listening to this, which I doubt you would have made it this far, but if you are, this is never about you and your program. Like, we are very happy. If the program works for you, we are very happy for you. But two things can be true, right? That program can be very helpful for you, and it can be very damaging for others. And this is never about you and your recovery, you and your home group. This is about the bigger, there's a much bigger beast at play than just the meetings, right? Like I say all the time, like the dogma and the rhetoric, it left the church basements a long time ago. If this was just a place where you were only exposed to it, only in those meetings, I'd probably have a lot less to say, right? Like if that was just one option of many options that was given to people, I mean, I'd be like, well, don't choose that option. But so many people, they don't think they have a choice, and in some locations they really don't, right? Like some places there really isn't choices. So it's never about people who are in the program. Like I could never stress that enough, but they do take it personal because you're insulting what they believe saved their life. Like I get it, I totally understand. And then again, they think our message is going to kill someone. It's the complete opposite of basically of what they're saying, right? So it's a lot.
It is a lot, and I understand the fear because, like you said, it's what they believe, and they believe it firmly, and that's the whole point of AA. Like, don't pick up the first drink, and we're here like, I picked up the first drink, I'm fine. Like, it's almost like a cognitive dissonance for them, I can imagine. If I would have heard this, I would have been like, what the fuck, like 5 years ago.
We would think we are so dangerous. So I think that is one of the benefits of that they don't understand is like we've been there before. Like we've been you. Like we understand what it's like to think like that, and we've had an experience that brought us to a different side. I think it also gives us an advantage that they don't have because they've never thought like us. Like, we've thought like them, but they've never thought like us, and like hopefully someday they do, because it's just about the options, man. We're all so different. And again, like those of us who have left 12-step, and talk about it publicly still all have a very different story. And that's one of the things that they really try to do in the rooms is like erase your uniqueness, right? They'll call it terminally unique. Oh, another one that thinks they're terminally unique. And it's like, those unique things are the things that are going to get people better, right? Like those things that people personally, like what you needed to work on may not have been what I needed to work on to get me to be okay with substances, to where I don't have this chaotic relationship with it. I hate that there's the addict, there's the alcoholic, and you are that one identity, and it's so harmful.
And yeah, they always tell you, you're not that special, but actually we are. And like you've listened to Kristen Johnson, I've listened to her, we've been talking with her, and she's sober, so she has very different views personally, but she's still totally on board with us drinking or doing, whatever we want to do. So we are all individuals. You can't really put us into this one box.
And it sucks because like society does that too, right? Like society puts us in this box, and society definitely has a lot of stigma towards people who drink, towards people who use drugs chaotically, but the most stigma comes from other people who have been there. Those are the people that have the most judgment and things to say. It's absolutely insane.
It's probably the biggest reason why I left, because I couldn't be authentic. I couldn't be myself whenever I tried, because I tried to criticize AA. I wrote to our local Grapevine about harassment, like about 13th stepping, and they didn't publish it because apparently I'm the one ruining AA's reputation or something. So like I tried, but nothing, not with success. And whenever I like questioned it in the meetings, I just got shut down. And I was like, I can't be a part of something I can't, disagree with people if I need to. So that's a cult. That's how you know you're a part of a cult. If you can't speak your truth without being kind of almost shunned.
Yeah, I mean, you try to speak your truth and it's like, oh, she's not doing so well. Oh, she's in denial. Maybe you need to pray a little bit more. Maybe, to question anything is a sign of not doing well. Like, that's crazy. Freaking insane. So, if you had one thing that you wanted to tell someone, they're in these meetings, they've been going to meetings for a long time, they know it's not really the thing for them, but they're a lot of people around them, like they're gonna lose everyone around them if they leave. Do you have any sort of advice or anything for anyone, I guess anyone in general leaving, that you'd like to pass on?
Yeah, maybe ask yourself, is this a real connection if it's so conditional? And is it worth it? Like, is it worth it? Are you able to leave this all behind? Are you able to face the loneliness for a while, but also maybe find another community and join the Facebook groups? And I believe eventually life will give you new people. That's what happened to me. I have very much social life going on. I'm not lonely at all. So I just want to encourage people. Like, of course, it's gonna bring up a lot of fear, but also, at least for me, I feel so free. And also Monica Richardson, the kind of pioneer with this deprogramming thing, I think she said that she just went to meetings less and less and less, so she didn't cut cold turkey. So you don't have to do what I did. You can just maybe go to the meetings and think about how much of bullshit it is, like in your own mind. And then when you have enough courage, you can just not go. I mean, there is no one way, but I just want to encourage people to listen to their own truth, or maybe find a therapist. Some people just need something else, so it's a unique process. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the best thing, that, like you were saying, like trust yourself, like to know that you can trust yourself. You can be honest with yourself and you can say, am I doing this because I have some other ulterior motive? Or am I doing this because this really doesn't, we get that messaging for so long that our thinker's broken, that we can't make a decision, that our best choices got us in those seats and all that stuff. But you can absolutely trust yourself. But it's hard to get there when you're so conditioned to not trust yourself. You've so much messaging. What is it that's saying, like, first thought wrong? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly. It's been taking a long time for me to trust myself. And I honestly recommend education. Like if you can go to, because I went to university and that was a really good thing for me, like University of Applied Sciences. And it was like, think critically, think critically, think critically. And it really helped me like to see the world kind of as it is and not believe something that some cult leader or some sponsor tells me. So yeah, I think the more you, or you can just read books or whatever it is, like read as many books as you need to about, because there is, literature available for these things too. So yeah.
I will say the books, like for me, like Undoing Drugs was a big one. Coming to Harm Reduction, Kicking and Screaming. There's a few. I'll link it in the description. But reading, I mean, I'm not a reader, right? But it was finally something that I was excited to read again. Like I actually ordered books again. Like I have a little bookshelf now with books that I've actually read. Like that's not me at all, but it was so intriguing to read, like, because that's the thing, like, yes, we had this experience, right, that it wasn't a good experience, it didn't end up being, or for some people it was a good experience, but then it just ended up not being for them, right? But on top of that, there is literature and there is studies and there is data and there is so much information that isn't the best path for people, that it doesn't make the most sense for substance use disorder treatment. So it's not just our personal feelings, like there's overwhelming data that supports it. And for me, that's what gave me, the voice, right? Because it wasn't just me speaking about my experience. It was like, I got shit I can support. Like I can point to shit and tell people to go read this, or, I can, and that helped so much because it's not just your personal feelings, right? Like there's science and there's a whole bunch of shit to support what you're saying.
Yeah, I interviewed Heath Hoffman, who did this or who is still doing this research about people who left AA, and it was very good for me to actually hear kind of about the results. And also, whenever I do my podcast, I always try to remember to find out some references, because I don't want it to be like, oh, this is my experience, so that's the truth, because that's what AA tells us. It's just your experience is enough, but no, it isn't. We need science. You can also pray and go to church if you want to. I still go to church sometimes, but it's not like I'm basing my life on some kind of spiritual hoo-ha without critically thinking.
I will say that, it's just been such an experience to meet other people, and I feel like there's just like this common, like so many of us want to talk about it and get the message out there because we know how trapped so many people are. Like we know that there are people who are going to meetings multiple times a week that do not want to be there but think that their life depends on it, or there's something that depends on it. And it's been so cool to just see so many other people. Like it's brought like validation to me and my experience. It wasn't that I couldn't hack it, right? There was so much, there's so much more to it. And I love, like, I really appreciate you doing your podcast and sharing your story, and inviting other people to share their stories, because it's important. People need to hear it, because just like people have different recovery stories, people have different deprogramming and leaving 12-step stories, and people connect with different people. And it's just, yeah, it's like I get like choked up about it sometimes because it's so overwhelming.
It is, and I really appreciate everyone. I feel like I've interviewed maybe almost 20 people or something, and I really, really appreciate it because it's helped me, and hopefully it's helped other people to hear the similarities, but also hear the differences. Like, for example, like I'm moderately drinking. You may never want to do that, and it's fine. And also, like, we're around the world, and this is what we discussed with you on my episode. Like, you're over there, I'm here, and we still see the same issues with AA, and I think that speaks volumes.
It does. It speaks volumes to the structure and just like what the program is, because people always say, "Oh, it's the people, not the program." But the people are the program, right? Like, regardless, like, the people make up the program. Most people aren't just experiencing the book. So it is like a systemic, like, there's a whole, it's just a whole thing that no matter where you are, you will find these reoccurring problems. I mean, like we talked about, like, where else is there an international saying for like taking advantage of people? And like, that's crazy. Like 13 stepping, like, that is, just it's honestly insane when you really think about it, but it's so normalized we don't even think about it.
It's insane because especially now, like in the post Me Too era, it's amazing that AA doesn't have anything. It doesn't have any harassment contact persons, any safer space. Well, maybe some meetings do that, but like the whole organization doesn't take any responsibility, and that's scary.
That's a great point that honestly I never even crossed my mind, how there absolutely should be some sort of hotline or something that people can reach out to, even if it's not to report someone, even just to get support in that. Like, it would be great to be able to report someone, but I'm sure they'll, the way that they always spin it though is, some are sicker than others and blah blah blah, none of us are perfect, and it's so fucked up. It would be great if they at least could have a place someone could call for some support and care after dealing with the humiliation of what comes with being 13 step.
Absolutely. And they keep having these kind of, they tell us that every group is individual. It's always like the problem is somewhere else. But how about, for once, just see the whole structure? Like, that's what we do in the world. Like, when somebody's assaulting a young woman, it's never about that one thing. It's always like the structures of this world are the problem. So AA should also look at its own ways, how it's inviting these predators and then doing nothing about it. So I think that's the real issue.
Richardson's documentary about the people that were sex offenders and then they get sent to 12 step, like so many people who weren't even in, like, didn't even have substance use disorder are going to those meetings and stuff. It's just, it can be a very dangerous place to be for, not trying to sound dramatic, like, oh, it can be, but I mean, it really can. And people, at least at the minimum, need to be aware of that, right? Because especially when we're, new and we're vulnerable and all of those things, people need to be aware that can be, like, that you can be getting groomed, honey. People need to be aware of it. But when everything is just swept under the rug, nobody talks about it until afterwards. And then it's like, well, what were you doing? You knew he had that reputation, so why did you even take a ride home from him? It's always finding your part, and it's just the culture around it has got to go. Have you ever listened to the 13th Step podcast by New Hampshire Public Radio? If you haven't, you need to.
I've heard about it, but I haven't listened to it yet, but I should.
It's really, really powerful. And it really shows how it's not the program itself, but the culture of the program, like, enables people to, if they've helped a lot of people, they kind of get put on this pedestal. And then a lot of their predatory behavior gets overlooked because, oh, but they've helped so many people get sober. And it's just, sobriety means everything in those rooms over rape, over dignity, over anything. People will die from a suicide because they got off of their medication, because they told them to get off their medication. I'm saying this is a specific example that I know of. The toxicology came back with nothing in their system. At least they died sober. Like, what the fuck?
It's crazy. Like, these steppers who are predatory, they just sit there meeting after meeting after meeting because, oh, they're sober. And then you can also victim blame. You can make your sponsee do the fourth step about the fact that someone in the meeting rooms raped you. That's so traumatizing. I'm so sorry if you went through this, or if anyone else. I didn't, luckily, but it sounds so horrible.
And I feel like it gets so minimized by the people on social media. There's bad people everywhere. That's what it always comes down to. Well, there's bad people everywhere. There's bad people that work at hospitals. I truly believe that AA any of the A's, any of the anonymous groups will never be held accountable or holds the people that are doing the fucking rotten shit. None of those characters will ever be held accountable unless it's like some outside, like the police, internally will never be dealt with.
Yeah, I don't honestly think either because it's so well kind of, when I say well organized, I don't mean this in a positive light, but it's in a way that you can never hold it accountable. So it's kind of like genius in a very, very evil way.
Super evil. All right, I'm trying to end on a positive note. I don't want to end on that. What has been the best thing, or what has been the most surprising or most positive thing about your life since leaving the program?
Even though I still sometimes feel guilty when I drink, but kind of finding out the positive aspects now that I'm drinking as an adult. Like, for example, oh, it relaxes me. Oh, I went to a bar. I met a nice person. We talked with each other. Maybe it started something even or whatever. Like you said, kind of realizing there is no stigma. And then also, oh my God, it's so nice not to have to pray every morning and not to think about my sins every night, like seeing myself in a much more positive light. It's super awesome.
I will say 12 step does do a number to the old self-esteem, doesn't it? Because like everything is always like the root of it is that you're a piece of shit. You're a selfish, self-centered piece of shit is basically what everything always comes down to.
It's insane. And I've been asking my normie friends, like, how do you see me? And they're like, yeah, you're very kind and, whatever. They never tell me I'm selfish or self-centered. And it's so funny how AA made me see myself in that light.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is crazy. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really enjoyed talking to you and hearing about your experience. And do you want to tell people where they can find you or find the podcast?
Yeah, so the podcast is on Spotify, titled Group Thinking, and also if the people who listen to this find the Deprogramming Facebook groups, you can find me there. I'm Emma from Helsinki. I'm sure you can reach out to me and message me if you want to. It's not something I'm, broadcasting, but if somebody wants to be a guest or whatever, you can always, message me and yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And for those of you listening, thank you for joining us. And we will see you next time. Stay safe, stay happy, and stay healthy.